So this is a big weekend for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Not only are they playing host to several of the nation's top prospects, but they're also opening up with an SEC opponent today. We need to preview the loaded visitor list Alabama is set to field, as well as talk about some of the key matchups I'm looking forward to in this game. Before we can, though, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Two things today. First and foremost, are you excited for the talented visitors Alabama is set to field? And secondly, do you think we could start to see this passing game come together with more consistency? I can't wait to hear what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions, though seemingly small, are truly massive for content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And we're going to start on the recruiting front because Alabama's already had a big week in that department, going into the state of Texas and getting two of the top players in all of the class of 2023, wide receiver Jalen Hale and defensive lineman Jordan Renaud. But it doesn't stop there, because this weekend Alabama is set to play host to several of their top prospects, including two in-state 5-stars that I know the Crimson Tide fanbase are going to want to hear about. And that's Quay Russo and James Smith. And this is an intriguing duo, because they have the exact same top lists, they've been taking several visits together, and I know in college football we've heard time and time before, me and so-and-so are a package deal, and it doesn't play out that way. This is a little bit different, just because of the way they've been navigating through this whole recruiting process. These are two guys I could actually see playing on the next level together. Because of that, getting them in this weekend with so many other loaded prospects, I think serves Alabama well. Because it's not just who's not committed. When we look at who is committed, you have your quarterback, Eli Holstein, coming in. You have one of your top players, Wilkin Formby, coming in. And when we look at what makes Alabama, Alabama, it's this iron sharpens iron mantra. If you're trying to attract two 5-stars that are at a major position of need for this recruiting class, being the defensive front, one of the best ways to do that is bringing in one of your top 100 players who's one of your two quarterbacks that, by the way, both rank inside the top 100 players in all of the class of 2023. That's insane. You bring him in, let them get familiarity with him, but also show them a top 100 offensive lineman, a top 10 offensive tackle in Wilkin Formby, because iron sharpens iron. People go to Alabama to go up against the best every single day. So I love in a visit situation like this, where you have two defensive linemen that are some of the nation's best prospects. You have an offensive lineman that's already committed in this class in the same visit, because I think it really backs up what separates Alabama, this iron sharpens iron mantra. On top of that, Bryce Thornton, one of the top players and one of the top safeties in the class of 2023, will also be on campus. This is an intriguing battle. Mainly because Alabama would love to add in Thornton, just because the defensive back is a position they're hitting really hard in this class. But when we look at the safety position in particular, I don't think it gets much better than what Alabama currently has in this recruiting class. Caleb Downs is, in my opinion, without question, a top 10 player in the nation. And then Tony Mitchell has been a coveted prospect amongst Alabama fans and for this Crimson Tide class for quite some time. So whenever you're able to secure both of those, sure, more depth at that position would be great, but really, so long as they're able to maintain the commitment of both Caleb Downs and Tony Mitchell, that safety position is looking like it's in really good shape. But it's not just the class of 2023, because if we want to go into the future of the class of 2024, there's another 5-star in attendance. 5-star defensive back, one of the top players in the class of 2024, Desmond Ricks, the cornerback. And this kind of goes to prove Alabama is hitting the defensive back position really hard, which, if you've followed Alabama and you've followed recruiting at any level, should come as absolutely no surprise. It's kind of what they do on a year-in, year-out basis. Nick Saban still so involved with the defensive back position, and Travaris Robinson, I think, was a key hire in the offseason. When you look at the list of guys he's been able to get in, then develop and send to the NFL, not just at one location or two locations, but it's seemingly everywhere he goes. That's why I love the hire. That's a battle we have to watch out for, but it does beg the question, what could Alabama do further in the class of 2023 at the cornerback position? Though he's not on a visit this weekend, keep your eye on Kormani Mclean. This is a guy that Alabama wants bad. He's an incredibly talented defensive back, and they're going toe-to-toe with the likes of Miami and the Florida Gators to try and secure that commitment. But with Travaris Robinson having roots to Florida, and with Alabama having so much success going in the state of Florida and winning these battles, you have to love their chances. But we can't get so mixed up in recruiting that we forget to talk about the game taking place today, because this is a game that I know a lot of people are going to simply look over. But me, being as obsessed with college football as I am looking at this game wondering what we could see. And what I mean when I say that is when we look at Vanderbilt, this is a team that's coming in and they're sitting 3-1. They have a true freshman quarterback who's been really impressive up to this point, and I think it presents several opportunities for the Crimson Tide. We'll start defensively, because holistically speaking, there aren't too many complaints to be had about the Alabama defense. That defensive front is playing at a really elite level really early in the season. I can't wait to see how they continue to develop. I can't wait to see what other guys get mixed up. Jaheim Otis is a name that I think Tide fans everywhere are really excited every time he checks into a game. I think his ceiling is incredibly high, so it's going to be interesting to see how much play he gets this week. But specifically, if we're talking about the defense and there is anything to nitpick, I'm curious to see what this cornerback position looks like once the dust of this battle settles. Personally, I think the two names to watch are Kool-Aid and Terry and Arnold, but it's going to be interesting to see who they end up being. But whenever you're playing a true freshman quarterback, you have the opportunity to take advantage of the inexperience that player has. And I think this could be a game where Alabama really looks to get it going in the cornerback position and start generating some turnovers. I think Alabama is in a prime position to be able to confuse this offense because of the inexperience the quarterback has. And like I said, he has been impressive, but whenever you have Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, a defensive front that's been able to negate the run at such a successful rate and then apply pressure to the quarterback, you have to like your chances of having your secondary be put in positions to be able to capitalize off of a mistake. That's what I'm hoping we see out of Alabama's defense this weekend. But specifically, that defense has been playing really, really well. I think it's one of the best defenses in college football. Offensively, I think is where most Tide fans are going to be watching, hoping there's some consistency improvements. And specifically, it's at the wide receiver position. Because when we look at Alabama's rushing attack, I don't think that running the ball has been the problem. I think consistently committing to running the ball has been a problem, but it's not been a personnel issue, or it's not been a thing of, can we run the football? It's, will we run the football? Because Jace McClellan and Jahmyr Gibbs have been really automatic, both in the passing game and in the running game. And whenever we look at this offense, the only area that I think we need to see much more consistency from is from the wide receivers. And I know there are going to be some of you sitting there thinking, what about the offensive line? I expect the offensive line to be a work in progress. I even think we're going to see some different names along the offensive line, but I think this is a great game for that offensive line to really start taking formation. But if we're talking about the wide receiver room, I maintain that the talent is there. It's just about someone claiming that wide receiver one position. Who's going to be the guy to step up and say, enough is enough, I'm going to be the guy, give me the ball, and everybody else get out of my way? That's what we need to see for the Crimson Tide, because after that number one guy is really, truly, holistically established, everything else can kind of fall in line. Right now, Alabama's got a lot of intriguing talent at the slot position from the true freshmen. Whether we're talking Isaiah Bond, Kobe Prentice, Aaron Anderson is coming back from injury, love him. Then you have a guy like Christian Leary. There is no shortage of talent at some of these wide receiver positions. Jermaine Burton is someone who we really hope to see continue to emerge, coming over from Georgia. Trayshawn Holden's been good. Ja'Cory Brooks has been out there. Someone has got to step up and really start taking control of this wide receiver room, because the ability is there, and that's what makes it all the more frustrating. Bryce is in a situation where we know what he can do throwing the football. Bryce is an absolute magician, and in a perfect world, I would only ever have Bryce doing what I think Bryce does best, which is throwing the football and carving a defense up with his arm, whether that's in the pocket or whether that's him using his legs as an extension of the passing game. But this isn't a perfect world we live in, and unfortunately, Alabama's offensive line is still a work in progress. The wide receivers aren't gaining separation at a consistent rate. When the opportunities arise, Bryce Young has got to take what the defense is giving him and take the easy yardage, because that can keep drives alive, presenting more opportunities for this offense to continue working itself out. And I'm not saying I need Bryce to be Jalen or Kyler. Take 5 yards, take 6 yards, and then slide if you don't want to get hit. I'm perfectly fine with you not getting hit. But if the opportunity presents itself for easy yards, you got to take them, especially if your offense is struggling. I'm hoping that's something we see more consistently. This is a great game to do it, especially before you really get into the meat grinder that is the SEC scheduling. what a better opportunity for Alabama to get some of the things that have been inconsistent addressed in this game. Hop down to the comments. I'm really interested in hearing from all of you, especially whether or not y'all think that some of the problems Alabama's offense has been having can be fixed in a game such as this, especially before that vaunted SEC schedule. Can't wait to hear from y'all. That's it. See ya.